Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to be looking at the board game Voices in My Head. Now, I know, you're wondering, Servant, this is RPG Elite, right? Isn't this about tabletop RPGs? Yes, it is about tabletop RPGs. However, today we're just going to make a switch on it a little bit because I have to keep my word. I'll tell you about it in one sec. But if this is your first time coming to the channel, I want to welcome you, Servant of Shiloh and the Hizzy for you. And this is RPG Elite. This is normally where we put the RP back into RPG. And how we do that, or how I do that, is by giving you tools, tips, tutorials, and real talk about the tabletop RPG space and culture. But we're deviating from it today because, like I said, I have to keep my word. It was in September of 2022 where these guys sent me the game. I talked to one of the guys that was representing the company that put the game out, and we talked at the time, and I was like, man, it's a board game. I do tabletop RPGs. I don't know, man, I don't know if that's going to fit into it. And he was like, no, I'll send it to you, just fit it in whenever. I was like, okay. I said, I don't know when I'm going to get to this. And he was like, that's cool.
Many months later.
Well, here we are in November of 2023, over a year later. And I had put this on the schedule a couple of times, pushed it back, put it on, pushed it back. And I decided today, I was like, you want to know something? Let's just knock it out, get it out of the way. I've already played the game like 2-3 times. So I'm familiar with it. It is a fun game. Voices in My Head. I'm going to start at the beginning. I'm going to show you how to set it up and give you the basics on this. And then if you want to go ahead and grab a copy of this, then there will be links down in the description below, as always. Let's roll them. Voices in My Head is released by Unexpected Games. It is for 3 to 6 players. It's kind of a plucky courtroom drama, kind of humorous kind of game. So let's look at how you set up the board. So the first thing you're going to see down here are the region platforms. You have 5 different regions on the board that represent Guy's brain. Now, who's Guy? Well, Guy is the guy who's in the middle of the game board. Guy's the guy. Okay, whatever. He's that dude in the middle of the game board. There's 5 regions of his brain that you play in during the game. There are motor skills, instinct, speech, observation, and planning. There are 5 platforms that you're going to sit real snug into 3 holes for each platform. And they're see-through. And you know that you've done it right because it's right in the middle of the platform. Right after that, you're going to put in the middle what's called the mind platform. The mind platform sits snug and kind of flush with the platforms for the region. After that, you're going to put on the back end. So this is going to be on the back end. There's going to be 2 little nubs at the top there. You're going to take the rails, you're going to put it on top. It's going to have a little bit of a space that's in between there. And that it will be the rails that you put on each platform. Then that's it. That's how you're going to set up the board, and you'll be ready for the next step. Now, the other major area of the game board is the jury area. And there are 2 jurors with the same mental disposition. Let's take a look at these dispositions. You have logical, judgmental, distracted, laid back, impulsive, and perceptive. Now, if you look at the top of these jurors, got a little thought bubble there, and there's 3 slots there. These are where the tokens are going to go, the guilty and the not guilty tokens, and those look like this. So this is a not guilty token, like that, with a lock on it that's unlocked. And then this is a guilty token with the handcuffs, baby. So those are going to go at the top or the bottom, depending on how the game goes and when it instructs you to do so. In the middle are going to go what's called influence tokens. These have 3 little question marks on them, and they have a not guilty symbol on it. There you go. An undecided symbol, and a guilty token. Now, these are always going to be face down with the question marks up. You will never look at these until the end of the game. And when you discard them, this is the other part of the playing board, you will discard them in the discarded influence token area at the bottom left-hand side of the game board. And again, always face up with the 3 question marks. You are going to take those tokens, you're going to put them in separate piles somewhere on the side or whatever. And then now you're totally set up and you can move on to get your players set up with what they need. The players are going to get a few things before you start the game. One of the things that you should get is a reference card. Now, the reference card is going to tell you how the game goes. What step 1, step 2, step 3. In stage 1, over here, it gives you a little summary for stage 2, and down here at the bottom, tells you what happened at the end of the trial. And you'll need this when you first start off, just so you make sure that you're hitting all the points that you need to hit. After you get used to it, then the other side will come into play more if you decide to implement the optional rule that this side represents. And it's very cool because the last time we played, like I said, I only played 2 or 3 times. Third time we played, we did implement these rules here and it was dope. And this is good to have so you know what happens for each one of your individual tokens and things like that. But this is good to have. You're gonna set that to the side to use that and reference that when you need to. You're also gonna get what's called a deployment stick. Now, a deployment stick is going to be used to deploy tokens. These tokens are going to be used on the region areas. You remember what I told you about that little slot there? Man, this is what these 2 are for, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. You're going to get 8 of these tokens, 1 deployment stick. Then you're going to be choosing a role. Now, the role is really going to be dependent on how many players that you have. And that can be seen at the bottom right-hand side of the card. So for selfishness here, which says if I want it, I take it. I don't know, it could be good, it could be bad. You know what I'm saying? At the bottom of each roll card, it gives you the parameters of what you need to win. So for selfishness, they need to equal or have more not guilty than guilty. This card is going to be played whether you have 3, 4, 5, or 6 players. But there's other cards that is not like that. For example, if you look at doubt, then in the corner here, it's only 4, 5, and 6. So this is only played if you have 4, 5, or 6 players. For like domination, it has 3 and 5. So if you have 3 players, you use this. If you have 5 players, you use this. But if you have 4 players, you don't use this. And if you have 6, you don't use this either. So find the roll cards that have the same amount of players that you have. Take those roll cards, shuffle them up, and pass them out. Now, it's a possibility that 2 people may fulfill their goals. What happens then? Oh, well, what happens is both of them win. Yeah, the game is kind of nice like that, right? But there's also the possibility that nobody will win at the end of the trial. Sometimes that happens too. So if you like that kind of thing, hey, this might be for you. But you're gonna shuffle these up and give 1 to each player. Last thing the players get are what's called strategy cards. There's 24 of these, or there's 13 of the roll cards. And again, that's gonna depend on how many people that you got. But there are 24 strategy cards, and there's 2 types. Let's take a look at one, this masterful manipulation. At the bottom, it tells you that you play it after one of your control markers is destroyed. And I'll tell you what destroyed means in a second when we go over how to deploy a marker. So this is a normal one. You have another one, it has a little symbol at the top. And that symbol is going to reference one of the area region symbols. So the light bulb here, that references the planning area on the board. So this is a planning area strategy card or planning region strategy card. And so all of the instructions at the bottom is going to be for the planning region on the game board. You're going to shuffle the cards. Everybody's going to get 2, and then everyone will have everything that they need to begin play. But there's one more person that has a little bit of a special role when it comes to voices in my head, and that's the prosecutor. Now, the prosecutor gets just everything that everybody else gets, has their own deployment token, has the tokens itself, except it doesn't have any numbers because they are, again, they operate a little bit differently, always have the same goal, and they do not get any strategy cards. However, they will be in charge of the trial cards. Now, they are going to be in charge of the trial cards behind the prosecutor screen. And they're going to set that up with the stage 1 at first. It's going to be stage 1, and that's you're going to know it's stage 1 because there's a Roman numeral at the top of the card. And I can show you that right here. So this is going to be a stage 1 card because of the Roman numeral there at the top. There, you're going to put all 3 of them, lay them all out behind the screen. On the far left-hand side is going to be the deck of stage 1 trial cards. In the middle will be 1, and on the right-hand side, there will be 1. Now, everything's going to start with the prosecutor, and it starts with what's called the story card. So to get the ball rolling, you start with what's called a story card, which looks like this. There are 4 of these. You're going to shuffle them up. You're going to give 1 to the prosecutor, and then they are going to get the ball rolling by reading the text at the top of the card. So let's do that. You rise to your feet as a woman in a black robe strides in the room. The judge looks at you, and it feels as though she can read your thoughts. Does everyone know you robbed the bank? Do they also know you forgot to take a shower this morning? Again, like I told you, kind of plucky humor that goes along with it. At the bottom of this story card, it will tell you how the start of this particular trial will go. There's only 4 of these, so you're going to shuffle them up and just give it to the prosecutor, and they're going to implement this. On this one, it says to place 1 random influence token on the distracted, impulsive, and perceptive jurors. So you'll go ahead, you'll take those influence tokens, you'll put them on the board, and then at the bottom it says to give the first player token to the player seated to the left of the prosecutor. So what is the first player token? First player token is this token here with the little crown at the top of it. So you're going to give this to whoever the card instructs you to give it to. Then what happens is that this will get passed around to each player once you play a card. So once you play the front and the back of a trial card, this will be passed to the next player. You play another trial card, front and back, then it gets passed to the next player until you get all the way around the table and it gets back to the original first player. Then at that point, the trial moves into stage 2. That's how the first player token and how it gets implemented around the table. So once this is done, the game begins. So now the trial begins, and it really starts with the prosecutor. Remember, they have the trial cards and they're all spread out. They're going to choose one of those cards. And then what they're going to do, they're going to slide the very edge of the card to where only these 3 symbols are seen to the player. So the Roman numeral and the 2 region symbols. And there's a little slot on the prosecutor screen that they're going to slide it underneath there. Now, once everybody sees the 2 symbols, then they're going to deploy one of their tokens to any of the region platforms. How do you deploy a token? It's the specific way. You're going to use your deployment stick, and then you're going to place your token right outside of the platform. Remember, I told you there's supposed to be a little slot there, right? So you're going to take the bottom edge of your token, and you're going to place it right outside of whatever region that you want to deploy to. Then you're going to take your deployment stick, and you're going to take the flat portion of it, and you're just going to slide that bad boy through the slot, and then you're going to go back and forth just to make sure everything's flush and you can't push it no more. And that's it. That's how you deploy a token onto the region platforms. And that's how you're going to deploy a token every time that comes around. You never are going to put it just on the board, except to put it in front of the platform token, but you're just going to just push it right on through. Can't move it, can't finagle it. You know, some people try to do that kind of stuff when they're playing games. You just push it straight through, make sure it's flush, and that's it. After the players deploy their tokens, the next step is going to be to read the flavor text that's at the top of the trial card that's been chosen. So I'm going to read the flavor text here, which says, "The prosecutor psychology expert is on the stand." But look, he's doing it right now. He's talking to himself. All right. Then what you're going to do is do what it says at the bottom of the card. So here it says the prosecutor is to place one guilty token on the impulsive jurors. That's good for the prosecutor because in order for them to win, they have to have more guilties than not guilty. So set that guilty token where it needs to go on top of the impulsive jurors. And now you're good. The next part, it names a particular region. And what does that mean? When it names a particular region, what it means is that the person who controls that region. So how do you control a region? If you have the most tokens with the most points, then you control a region. So let's say there's a token on there that has a 3-point token and another has a 2-point token in the same area. The one with the 3-point token is the one who controls that area. Or if there was one that had a 3-point token and there were two of the same color, one was a 2 and another was a 2, then the other one would control that area. So whoever controls the area, that is going to apply to them what's at the bottom of the cards. For this one, it says instinct. You may take one of your control markers from any region and deploy it to a different region. Sometimes, and you'll figure out why that's the case, it's good to do that, especially if one of your tokens is on the edge of a platform about to be destroyed. Then you may discard one strategy card to draw another strategy card. That's also good as well. So you just do at the bottom, and it's only for one particular player. After you get done with this side of the card, you're going to flip the card over. You're going to do the other side. Let's do the other side here. It says, "Stay calm," you whisper quite loudly to yourself as the entire jury stares at you. You may not be able to control your thoughts, but you can at least appear calm and stable. Now, at the bottom of this particular card, it says motor skills. Again, whoever controls the motor skills region would be the one this would apply to. And it says you may destroy one of your control markers at motor skills to draw 4 influence tokens, place 1 on the perceptive jurors, 1 on a different juror, and discard the others. So once you play the front and the back of a trial card, that is what's called the end of a round. At the end of a round, whoever controls the planning region will have the ability to draw another strategy card. Now, if you're ever caught with more than 3 strategy cards in your hand, you got to discard one. You can never have more than 3 in your hand. If you are playing in a 5 or 6 player game, then not only does that player get to choose a card, but they get to choose another player who can choose and draw another strategy card. After the strategy cards have been chosen, then the person with the first player token is going to pass it to the next player, and then they're going to deploy first when the deployment of tokens go, and then you're going to repeat this process all over again until you get back to the original first player. Then what happens is that you will go to the second stage, which is a whole other stack of cards. And I will show you this right there. These are stage 2 cards, has its own deck. Take those, shuffle them up, give it to the prosecutor. You're gonna do the same thing, lay them out before him, and then you're gonna go around the table again. Once it gets to the third time, you are at the end of the trial, and now it's time to see who has actually won. So figuring out the verdict is pretty easy. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna look above the jurors, and throughout the game, you're gonna be adding influence cards, taking them away, that kind of thing. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna flip over your influence cards and you're gonna look at them. The not guilties, you're gonna put at the bottom. The guilties, you're gonna put at the top. The undecideds, you're gonna discard. Put them over to the side. Once you have all the not guilties and the guilties, now it's time to cancel them out, because each guilty and not guilty will cancel each other out. So basically, the one with the most will be the verdict for those particular jurors. So let's say, for example, you have 3 not guilties and 2 guilties. That means that those 2 guilties have been canceled out, 1 not guilty is left, and so those jurors believe not guilty. And you'll do that for all the jurors across the board. Then you'll just tally it up. How many not guilties, how many guilties? And if those parameters meet what you have at the bottom of your roll card, you have won the game. That is the ease of voices in my head. And like I said, you can have fun with it. You can pretend like you're in a courtroom and do a little bit of role playing in that regard. And just, just have fun with it. What do you think? Did you get any value out of this video? If you did, can you do me a solid and crush that like button? And also, if you want to stick around, now, like I said, normally this is a one-off here. Normally I don't do board games, I do tabletop RPGs, but sometimes it's just good to, go in a different direction, something a little fresh. And like I said, there's a little bit of role playing you can do with this, but normally it's tabletop RPGs. And if you want to stick around for that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Let's get to the question of the vid. And of course, it's going to be something about voices in your head. As a matter of fact, what's the likelihood that you would pick up this game? You think the game would be fun? What's your opinion of the game? Just give me a general opinion down in the comments, because that's what they want to see. And I played the game. I think it's relatively fun. We played, I think the most that we've played with is like 5 players. I think it's 4 or 5 players. That was fun. Lasted a good amount of time. It was easy. It's an easy game, but it's really fun once you start implementing the emotions. That was fun. That was real fun. But what do you think about the game and what we've seen so far? Let me know down in the comments below. They want to know. I want to know. Let's get some engagement going here. That's it for me, folks. So you know what that means. That means a brother gotta do snuggle post.
So exit, stage left.
Friday, we're coming in with classic tabletop RPG, baby, with the classic Traveler series, God willing. Until that time, folks, I got to say, peace! 5,000 leaks! I'm outie.